Let's fucking go, gentlemen. Welcome to episode
29?
29?
Yeah,
I think so,
27.
yeah.
29. This is the Strong Capable Men podcast, your no BS guide to conquering life's challenges and achieving greatness. We're here to equip you with the tools, tactics, and mindset to dominate in every area of your life. Whether I'm going to skip that part. We dive deep into mental fortitude, physical strength, financial freedom, and the confidence that comes with mastering your style. Get ready for raw, unfiltered conversations with experts, inspiring stories of transformation, and actionable strategies you can implement today. A strong, capable man isn't born, he's built. Let's
Love it.
build.
Love it, Az. Love it.
So I'll have a proper introduction
Yeah,
cut into the audio
yeah.
version of it, but I just thought I'd read it off just for the
All the work in progress, mate. All the work in
YouTube
progress. It's
video.
all
Yeah, that's a thing. And
That's
and
it.
that's what I was saying when we were talking offline a second ago, over the 100 days of the Strong Capable Man project, you lads will very succinctly answer the question, what is it?
Yeah.
So
What is it? Who's it for? And how does it help people for sure?
yeah. So right now, let's before I dive into a question which will probably come off the back of this,
Mm.
what is it at the moment?
Well, it's an idea at the moment that's about to, um, yeah, Anton and I are undertaking 100 days basically of habit. I suppose it's just self retransformation. It's just a our version of I suppose what 75 hard is, but it just has more tangible action steps. It's less concept and more point and click than what 75 hard is. A lot of the concepts that are in there are in here too. It's maybe not as heavy on the physical activity side, and it also gives those tangible X's and O's of, um, I suppose, how you transform that inner voice and start to become more accustomed to who you really are when you actually put your phone down and sit with the discomfort of answering deep and meaningful questions and unearthing those layers of yourself, just like you do an onion, I suppose.
1000%. It's the more internal conversations, I feel like, when you are discovering more about yourself, you really got to delve deep. You know, onions have layers. I love the little metaphor. You know, onions have layers. Shrek's Jimmy's favorite movie. But there, yeah, like looking at yourself in the mirror, reflecting, and really getting down deep to who the fuck you are and really what you're about. So I think that's really what we're trying to bring here. Really, I think it's that next sort of level up that we can sort of bring, and I can't wait to fucking go on the journey. I reckon it's gonna be sick.
Yeah, for sure. And just going on that journey, it helps you to really flesh out your identity and who you are in this moment. And then sort of also, I suppose, maybe expose yourself to the possibilities of the person that you want to become. And then, the bridge in between is obviously the process, which is action. And ultimately that action leads you to that ultimate version of yourself. So
Run me through the question aspect, the daily question aspect of the project, because
as
this
in,
is something sort of I've not I haven't seen out
yeah,
there, but this is kind of like there's a question every day that someone who goes
yeah,
through the project has to answer. Run me
yeah.
through the idea of that, the concept, what that will unlock.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, I think as I said, sitting there asking yourself, the majority of people are distracted. I mean, the majority of people don't allow themselves to sort of sit in that discomfort of, when they feel depressed or when they feel anxious, you know, when they're going through a struggle in their life, rather than actually sit and feel that discomfort and then, obviously accept its reality and then map out a game plan or a way forward. Quite often we'll just have a wank, eat some chocolate or, whatever, scroll social media, play some video games, and forget about the bullshit issues in our life. 100 questions are deep. The 100 questions are meant to go deeper than the surface. You actually, the point of it is to sit there and to really unpack the layers of what that question means to you, because ordinarily you'll sit there and you'll start and you'll answer it from that surface level. And then if you sit there long enough in that sort of discomfort or in that thought process, it'll start to unpack other answers that you have, deeper rooted meaning answers. And it really just will help you to bring and uncover the person that you are at your core to the surface. The questions right now are sort of randomly placed together. Our job, our mission over the 100 days is to put them in some semblance so that we can sort of match habit to relevant question and take the person on a journey. And we've sat and ideated over it for a minute now, but I think just doing the process will help us to unlock, okay, this question is probably more prevalent at this stage of the project in itself. And everyone's going to take different sort of benefits, or like everyone's answer, if they actually sit there and do the proper work, will be different based on the context that person sort of lives their life by, based on what season of life they may be in, because everything is seasons. There are some seasons where you can spend more time looking after yourself than others. There are different seasons where maybe your relationships are more important than your job, or vice versa, so on and so forth. So ordinarily, your answers, what you'll see is a common thread or common trend of your answers, and it will really highlight those key areas of your life where you're either struggling or they hold, those areas are what you hold dear to you. And I think those questions, bringing that to the front, allows you to then map out sort of what the next stretch for you, the next season of life looks for you, so that you can live more according to the direction that you want to go in. And then you can push in that direction, and then you obviously reassess from there and go from there. So
for sure. See the big picture in the end, right? Take the people on the journey as much as we possibly can. And that's why we're going to go through it ourselves. Make sure every step is each way as it should be, and just smash it every fucking day. We're going to know exactly what, be in their shoes. We're going to walk their shoes, and then they're going to walk with us. So I think it's going to be the most impactful way to do it. And if we do it properly, actually settle down, and the questions will really come from our life coaching when we come back to it all. It's like everything we sort of learn from those sort of days can come back to it, and we can really take people on this proper journey and actually have some real self-reflection, actually make some real change in people. So it's I can't wait for it. I reckon it's going to be sick.
For sure.
Ants, what do you see as one or two of the most common obstacles people are going to find as they go through the 100 days? What do you think is the one or two biggest obstacles you'll face, I should say?
The ones I'll face especially is, we always say time. Time is always the biggest thing, that really the biggest obstacle that gets in the way of my clients, myself, even us around here, us three especially as well. And I think the time frame is really being on top of being scheduled everything, and we've kind of done the X's and O's at the moment to make sure that we are ready to go for it. And I think when taking people on this journey, I reckon it's going to be really important for them to be fucking documenting like we are, because I feel like it's going to be the most impactful thing. So when we do roll this out to people and people start jumping on board, I think that's going to be the toughest thing for them, is like jumping in front of the camera and getting themselves out of their shell. But I feel like if they do that themselves as well, it's going to bring a next level to them. Really uncover what it is about them, and they don't have to put the videos out there like we're going to do. They can just document it and watch it themselves, because when they hear them talking back to themselves and they realize like what the fuck they're actually really saying, because you can say things out loud, but when you actually listen to them back, like we watch these podcasts back and listen to what we actually say and the way we want to articulate ourselves, you really, really understand what you're about when you really, you get it back over and over and over again. You can read a book and then pop it down and think about it. But for us, when we listen to podcasts and stuff, like the more you listen to it, the more you fucking digest and eat, the more you get to understand it. So I think that's going to be for me, the most important thing is that documentation. And it's going to be a struggle for sure. But the more you get used to it, the easier it's going to get. So it's just starting off day one, make sure I'm fucking ready to go ahead. And yeah, same with them as they go through it as well. And once the ball's rolling, yeah, it's going to be unstoppable. And I think the questions along the way, if we can lead them up into a way where they don't fall down when the consistency starts to go, you know, when the discipline needs to take over, if we can roll the questions into a way where it really works in that sort of time frame, I think it'll be perfect. So
yeah, it's kind of like, it reminds me of, there's a big difference between looking at yourself in a mirror and looking at yourself in a photograph.
mm-hmm.
You can sort of you see a little more imperfection, for lack of a better word. You see a bit more detail in the photograph. Jimmy, what do you think are a couple of obstacles you'll face yourself?
I think the biggest thing that everyone will take away from it is that they're probably more capable of dealing with their demons than they give themselves credit for. I think most people, as I say, sort of hide in dopamine, seeking habits to avoid reality, and they do that because they think that the reality that they've built for themselves at times is sort of unavoidable. Like there's no other option. And I think what it's going to unearth for people is that, standing in the ring and getting punched in the face and then having that resiliency to then get up and do it again and again and again, which obviously is just a metaphor for what life does to us every day. Kicks us in the dick, and it's on us to fucking take the hit and get up and move forward. And I think a lot of people do wave that white flag, especially way too easily, and just accept a life that they don't necessarily want to be living. If they really had a choice, like if they felt like there was a different option, they'd probably pick a different option. And I think doing that internal work will actually help to unlock that belief, that internal belief, that self-belief for people to then take that action going forward, and for all of the challenges of it, that lay ahead of them past this point, and for the rest of your life, because it's inevitable, it's part of the human condition. I think we'll obviously give them those tools, but having the bravery to then use that tool in battle, sort of thing, is the thing that I think will be the biggest benefit for most people.
Is there going to be a nutrition concept? Not concept. Is there going to be a nutrition component to it, an exercise component to it, or is it more flexible than? I'm trying to really distance it from 75 hard, but that's sort of the best similarity I can.
So let's say 75 hard, right? So conceptually, right, there's 6 or 7 parameters that you need to hit, and let's start day one. Couple of things. Now, obviously, it's a fantastic program, and I think that 75 hard is a perfect avenue for you if if you're at the point where you haven't started at all, and it's just it gives you a baseline to, okay, this is what I could do to improve my life. The issue that I have with it is 2 workouts a day. One of them has to be outside. If you're a busy parent, right, and there are days where you can't necessarily get that done, ordinarily that's when people fall straight off the wagon. Now I understand the concept is, all right, whether you just start back at day one and it just rolls like that. Cool. So that's one issue with it for me. Whereas ours probably is going to be more like a ranking system or a scoring system. So we're going to layer habits week on week, and there's going to be a core foundation of 6, 8, maybe 10 habits. We haven't fully nutted that out. Again, we're going through the process ourselves to clearly identify which ones we need and which ones are supplementary, right? So yes, there'll be training, nutrition. There'll be some morning routine stuff. There'll be mindset stuff. Feeding your mind. Exactly. A lot of it is like 75 hard. 2 different points are, one, the entry point from a physical standpoint is probably a bit lower. And it means that rather than you falling off the wagon, if you were to do 6 out of the 8 things every day, let's just say, and give yourself some grace, it means past that 75-day point, past that 100-day point for us, you will continue those habits because you're not trying to be perfect. You're trying to continually improve. And the other element is that it's all well and good saying feed your mind with 10 pages a day. Ours will probably be 20 minutes of learning, whether it's reading a book or listening to a podcast, doesn't matter what it is, but 20 minutes a day of learning. Again, a lot of these habits you should be able to do sort of simultaneously, like all at the same time. There's probably 2 or 3. You really only need to add like a sort of an hour a day to your routine, and maybe the 3 days that you lift weights, an extra 45 minutes on top of it. But that should be a pretty easy entry point as a whole. Most of the things you're going to be doing anyway. You just eat healthier. You walk, and whilst you're walking, you can listen to your podcast or, listen to a book, so on and so forth. So we're trying to make that barrier of entry pretty smooth or seamless. With that regard, 75 Hard just says learn something. Ours is going to be more around pick an area, identify what it is that you want to learn. It could be real estate investing. Cool. That's the realm that you sort of go down, and the questions should help to unlock the areas where you either need attention or the interests that you want to pursue sort of going forward. So there, for me, they're probably the 2 main aspects that differentiate it. And I just think the biggest thing is if you can incorporate healthier habits into your life without feeling like you're changing much, they're sustainable. If you're trying to get 2 workouts in every day, if you fall off the wagon, then it's game over. You start again. Like, it's not reality. And I think that's the difference between what it is that we're trying to do and what it is they're trying to do. Ours is going to be a lot more actionable steps, piece by piece blueprint, makes it feel easier and more achievable, and then you just elevate your baseline. This is from day one, you change everything. So,
yep, for sure. Hit the hammer on the head there. Sustainability, it's always what we've been preaching from day one. Happy, healthy, sustainable lifestyle. That's all we've ever wanted to do. I feel like we've come full circle now to be like, this is the bite-sized chunks that you need to fucking eat all day, every day to get yourself up to that fucking level. So absolutely, sustainability, baby.
What's the hacks? Everyone loves a good hack, right? And I know we know that hacks aren't the way forward.
yeah.
But I've spoken about it before to you guys, not on the podcast, but when everyone wants to learn to pick up women, the first thing they want is the pickup line. When we all know in reality, it's about being the man. It's about becoming the right man for the person that you want to be with. And the pickup line is just the sprinkles on top, right? But what's the sprinkles? What's the quick hack for someone to get started well, so they have a better chance of being more consistent and ticking more of those boxes along the way, rather than just sort of getting to week 3 or 4 and ticking 1 out of 8 boxes type thing, getting a low score, so to speak.
For sure. We want to bring people into the system, and I think when it gets to that sort of stage from day dot, it's about we want to fix your habits. Yeah, your habits are pretty much what we want to roll in. Easy little bite chunk things that you can add to your day, like Jimmy said before. Yeah, it's like could be making your bed, could be training, nutrition, all those type of things, like all added up into one. Listening to podcasts and everything, like habit stacking, right? But as we're going forward, we want to build this, as we call it, school. And it's basically everyone that's all going to be involved in this one sort of system. So everyone that comes along the journey with us, it's going to be everyone, all like us pushing them, but everyone else pushing each other. So when it gets to those days where we do have, because we're fucking human, that, as Jimmy said, with 75 hard, you miss one day, you go back to day one. With us, it's about trying to hit the X's and O's as best you possibly can, because not every day is the same. We do have bad days, but it's about getting back onto the high horse, back into the habits the next sort of fucking day, and then we keep pushing each other. So I think the school itself and the people that we'll have in the system in the long term, after we go through the system and after we bring people in, is going to be the big fucking change and the big main factor, because it's not just you yourself going through it, it's all of us all in one going through it day by day. So once it comes to that sort of stage where we're starting to dip, we all wherever it is, we can work it out. But if you raise your hand in the group, we will see the X's and O's of people that aren't actually doing the things that they're doing. So we can also reach out to them as well. And it's also about themselves. I think those questions along the way is also going to make a big difference as well, to know that, right, I'm not doing the things that I said I was doing from day one. So why am I not like it? And those are the questions, as I said, from building that sort of journey along the way can make the difference.
So it's kind of like the reverse crab in a bucket metaphor, where you always have two crabs in a bucket because one's going to climb out. If they're by themselves, they're going to climb out of the bucket. Whereas if there's two crabs in a bucket, the second one will pull the one that's climbing up down, the whole tall poppy thing. This is sort of the reverse of that. When someone feels like they're falling into the bucket, the community's reaching down and pulling them back up, type thing.
Yeah, sure. And when you're winning, the other people are pushing each other, like I'm fucking hitting the X and that. When you see someone else winning, you're like, fuck, I got to be like them at the same time.
Momentum. Yeah, for sure. Momentum.
What's the one thing that scares you both about the next 100 days?
What scares me? As you can go if you want to go.
I wouldn't say the scariest thing. That's a tough question, because at the moment it's not fear of failure, but it's more of like, I want to test my boundaries, and I don't want to let myself down. And I know that I won't, but at the same time, it's like, as I just said, we have the people in the group, pushing each other, and we only have each other pushing each other. But this journey is about big self-reflection and really learning about what it is I'm fucking made of. And maybe I'm not made of what I fucking am. I will fucking find out, you know what I mean? I'll see exactly what it fucking takes to make myself to this next level. And 100 days is only fucking 100 days, right? Like, we have a whole fucking lifetime ahead of us. But if I can't push myself for 100 days, I'll be very, very disappointed in myself. So I think that's probably the scariest fucking thing. If I can't do this, then what the fuck can I do? You know what I mean? What the fuck can I do?
Yeah, I think he's right. I think it's you thinking that you are someone and then not proving to yourself that you are who you say you are. That's probably the most daunting task, is to keep you on track. But at the same token, right, motivation is the thing that ordinarily gets you started, and then discipline is the thing that keeps you going. I wouldn't necessarily label myself as a disciplined person. Same token, for the last 4 years, I've also got up at 3 a.m. every day, 5 days a week through COVID, 6-7 days a week, did a 12-hour day in a job that I didn't necessarily enjoy to provide for my family. So at what point does that narrative become a lie? And you can just look at the proof and say, oh, well, I've taken the action of what a disciplined person looks like. Therefore, along the way, I now am disciplined. And I think that's what I want to give to people, is that shift in the mindset. Break those beliefs that they have, or those narratives that they've either been given or they've given themselves from the people around them. It could be anyone. It could be a school teacher. It could be someone from that you grew up playing football with, or whatever it was. And there was an off the cuff remark that probably didn't even mean anything to them at the time, and someone's held on to that and effectively formed a whole identity around it. And this will really shake up who they say they are. Because again, no matter what you say, you can call yourself ill-disciplined or not disciplined, take disciplined action, And someone outside looking in would go, well, you're a disciplined person then. Same token, you could say that you're a disciplined person, not take disciplined action, and someone outside would look in and go, well, you're not exactly a disciplined person, are you?
Yeah.
So the identity shift is going to be a huge one for us, but obviously for the people that, we've the funny thing is that we've done a lot of work already the last 3 or 4 years in the personal development space. We've had a lot of tough conversations collectively as a group. I know I have with Claire as well, and it never stops. Like it's continual. I'm consistently opening up new doors and sort of falling in traps or potholes in other ways. And yeah, it's just the 100-day thing is just a number to slap on. It sort of sounds a bit sexy and it gives you a good baseline, but the purpose of it is to go, all right, well, if I can add this this hour a day structure to the next 30 years of my life, where will I be at when I'm just plus 30 years time, 63 in my case? Like my life will look completely different. And if I take that action the whole time along the way, I'll have no reason to not have that proof from an identity standpoint that I am who I say I am. So yeah, that's what I'm.
I like that. I'm gonna hijack the podcast for a second and touch on something that you said in regards to discipline. Like you don't call yourself a disciplined person, yet you got up at 3 a.m. for the last 4 years for your job. There's a popular notion in self-development: how you do one thing is how you do everything.
For sure.
And I used to believe that used to be a really strong belief for myself, and it didn't sit well, and I didn't aspire to that, because in one area of my life I wasn't doing well, and I thought I was a failure, or I thought I had to be perfect in every area of my life if I was to have a standard in one area of my life. Just as an example, eating well and being a fit human being and things like that, then I had to have that standard in all areas of my life. But my belief is that, and a lot of people aren't gonna agree with this, but it doesn't work like that, because of that example that you just said. You may not be disciplined in several areas of your life, right? You may have, like we both, especially myself, we both bounced in and out of a very strict and healthy nutrition regime, and lifting and exercise for that matter. We've both bounced in and out of that. Yet you've gotten up 3 a.m. almost without failure every day, type thing. And yes, there's a lot of pain attached to not doing that. So maybe that's the actual. It's not about how you do one thing is how you do everything. It's if there's enough pain in not doing something in your life, then you're going to do it, because as humans, we're motivated more by moving away from pain than we are moving to something that we enjoy, moving towards something that we enjoy. So maybe that's the case there. But I know there's one area of my life where I'm super disciplined. I've been extremely on target with it for the last 10 years. And it, like, as I sit here, and anyone who's watching on YouTube can clearly resonate that I'm not super disciplined within my nutrition. Like, your body is an outward expression of what you put in. It's very, very clear. So I sort of don't ascribe to that. How you do one thing is how you do everything. And I think that without spoiling it, I'm going to jump on these 100 days with you. I'm just not going to document it as disciplined as you are. So you guys got to keep me in the loop for the next 100 days as to what the question is. I've let the cat out of the bag. I was going to do like a big surprise at the end and stuff like that. But I know that I see it, instead of the how you do one thing is how you do everything, I see it as exactly that, what you've explained, that scoring system.
Yeah.
You're not going to be 8 out of 8 in every area of your
Every
life, or
day.
however many.
Yeah,
Yeah,
every
you're not
day.
going to be
Yeah,
eight
for
out of
sure.
eight every day, every week, every month, every year.
Yeah.
You're going to be ticking boxes along the way and
Yeah.
slowly building towards that.
Yeah. I think on that too, I think a big thing is identifying a baseline. So like a maintenance point for certain areas of your life. For example, right? Life for 6 months, you're super diligent with with your training and nutrition. You train 5-6 days a week. You're super strict on your diet, and something happens. Someone dies. A change at work. You have a baby. Like it could be fucking anything. It doesn't have to be that drastic, but something happens in your life, right? And I know with me, I'm all or nothing. So that mentality ordinarily throws me off. I can't train 5-6 days a week. Then what the fuck's the point in training 3 days a week? It makes no sense, right? Whereas maintenance is two to three sessions a week. Like if that's all you can fit in, without obviously, neglecting certain areas of your life that you need to look after, then realistically on the weeks where you can give 2 sessions and you give those 2 sessions, you've given 100% of what you could have given. Now, some people might look at it and go, well, that's just letting yourself off the hook. Maybe so, but here's the thing: life is seasons. So for this season, it might be right now. Claire's gone through placement um, to get her degree. My top priority is providing for the family. My second priority is then my health and fitness. In order to ensure that I obviously get my work done and then allow her to then chase what it is that she wants to do, my nutrition, my training needs to go from 5 days a week to 2 or 3. On those weeks where I'm given 2 or 3, it's 100% of what I can give. Now, if I maintain maintenance like that for the next 3 months and do 2 or 3 sessions a week, whatever I can give, when this season's over, I'm not at zero. I'm at basically where I was at the end of last season because I've sort of maintained. That's the standard, is 2 to 3 times a week. I haven't really lost strength. I haven't gained anything. I'm not more muscular than I was before. Um, I might even be 5% lower than where I was before, but I'm not back at square one. And then when I can enter that next season, I can hit another 6 proper months. We can go hard again. We can go back to 5 or 6 days. And I think that's exactly that, the all or nothing mentality, or how you do anything is how you do everything. I agree with you. I think it's a good concept because it does help people to live integral to the person that they want to be.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the trade-off is when you can't do that, have a bit of self-empathy. And I think it's just be realistic, because if you train 2 to 3 days a week for 30 years, instead of training 5 or 6 days a week for 6 months and not training at all for 3 years, and then having another season where you train 5 or 6 days a week for 6 months and then have another 3-year off season, your health and fitness is not going to be in a better place in 7 years' time. But if you train 3 days a week for fucking 30 years, you'll be in some semblance, some, decent shape at 63 years old. So
Yeah,
I think just resetting that baseline is important.
And the data actually supports that. It supports that.
For sure.
Someone who's not exactly as aesthetically pleasing as Anton, for example, but but continues exercising in some capacity consistently over the course of their lifetime, will outlive someone who may be as aesthetically pleasing as Anton, but isn't consistent in their nutrition, isn't consistent in their exercise, isn't consistent.
Yeah.
I know myself, like straight away. It's like back when I used to train, I did, for example, as Jimmy said, 3 to 6 months, and then I would fall off the wagon and then be back at square one 36 months down the line. And then I never really got anywhere. I got somewhere in that 36 months and then it lost all, and then you're back to square one. So yeah, I might have been in good shape back then, and then you're back to it again. So then you just feel like you're spinning your fucking wheels and you go nowhere. Nowadays is the only actual time. This is the best shape I've ever been in because I've been so consistent with it. And yeah, there's been days where I don't train. I rolled my ankle the other week and didn't do legs for 2 weeks because what's the point in hurting my ankle even more than it'd be longevity. I'd probably hurt myself even more because I'm hopeless and fall over bloody the floor. But
You are hopeless, yeah.
Flat surfaces, it's ridiculous. I roll my ankle, and just comment below if you freaking roll your ankle on flat surfaces. Please just tell me I'm not the only one. It's ridiculous.
You're the only one.
It's terrible. It's terrible.
You and Dad.
But like, yeah, now I'm in the best shape of my life because I've had a couple of missed days here and there where I've gone to a festival and not training on Sunday because I'm sleeping in all day. Doesn't mean the next week is going to be rubbish because of it. I just get back on the wagon on Monday. That's just how it works. It's, as you said, it's realistic. It's how life is. And there's no point in kicking yourself down when you miss a day or two, because if you keep doing that, you're just going to miss more days.
Yeah, for sure. We're not training to be on stage. You know, I think well, you might be, but you're a long way to go then. But yeah, no, but we're not trying to be on stage. So have proper realistic expectations. Like, unless you love training, and don't get me wrong, I love training, but unless you proper love training and your goal is to be on stage, you don't need to train 5 times a week. You don't need to train 5 times a week. If other things give you more joy and fulfillment, then make sure that you spend an hour or two a week doing those things in those areas. It's way more important to be consistent over time than it is to have a really, really good season, you know, and then get a medal and then fall off fucking track.
Yeah, for sure.
I like that. Last question to wrap up. You mentioned, Jimmy, that we've been down this path for quite some time now, 3 to 4 years of the personal development journey. And by God, it's a fucking endless one. I've lost count of the amount of personal development books that I've read. I've completely lost count. What's one thing that has stuck with you in the last 3 to 4 years that you've put into your routine? It may be a habit, it may be a thought, it may be a belief. What's one thing that stuck with you and left a positive mark on you since you either started it, since you discovered the concept, since you discovered the belief, since you reprogrammed the belief? What's one thing that has absolutely stuck with you that you can leave people who have lasted this long on? Episode number 29 of the Strong Capable Men podcast.
I think the big 29.
29
I think the biggest thing, the biggest lesson I've had to learn is to drop my all or nothing. Like, an all or nothing mentality doesn't serve you. To be honest, it's everything we just really spoke about. It's an all or nothing mentality doesn't serve you because there are different seasons in life where you can prioritize other things over other things, other certain things. I think as humans, we've only got 24 hours in a day. We've only got a certain amount of bandwidth. Now, we're entrepreneurs. We look at a lot of high level entrepreneurs, and the truth is that the reason that they get more done is because they can employ people or pay people to do the things that they want or need to get done. A lot of the times it's the boring things. So they can spend the time working on their health and fitness. So they can, because you can't employ someone to get you fit. But you can employ someone to take sales calls for you, or to close for you, or to build a piece of software for you that helps your business. So there are only probably a few truths in this world that you can really look after. And I used to be all or nothing because all or nothing with the thought process of how I do anything is how I do everything. And playing in that realm really just set me up to relapse to failure every time. And so that's been the hardest lesson that I've had to learn. And the truth is I'm still learning it. Like, even though I understand these concepts and I can sit here and talk to you lads about the concepts, they're super simple, but they're not easy to do when you factor in the emotional, the human emotion side, or, as I say, there's certain elements or things that happens in people's lives that are out of their control, and trying to deal with that on top of everything else can be super hard. I think that's why leaning on people, leaning on community, seeking the help that you need is super important. But yeah, I think the biggest thing I've learned is just to have a bit of self empathy in times of crisis and not be so all or nothing, and just accept the fact that I can't do everything the exact way I'd like it to be done in every moment. There are some things that you either need to outsource if you have the means, so on and so forth, or just accept the fact that maybe you need to just maintain it whilst you are tending to other areas of your life that have become more pressing, And it was I'm in a different position to you lads too, where I can't just think for myself. Obviously, my role is to be the best version of me to be able to serve my children. But something happens, someone falls down the stairs or cuts themselves open, like everything stops, nothing else matters. You have to attend to crisis. So yeah, just a bit of self empathy in those sort of areas.
Easy for me. It's it's actually something that, like, for me, I was looking back, and it's really the power about, like, the self-talk and the self-belief, because I was looking back at it after you actually asked this question earlier in the week, and I kind of did a little bit of self-reflection, and for me, it was more, I couldn't really take sort of criticism from people as well as I believed I could. Always took it to heart, and then I always took it deeper, and I always felt like it was a personal attack, and I never really understood why. And I think it really stems from back when I was obviously younger, and I never really faced what I kind of went through, losing my mate, and when it come to the stages of talking to people and really expressing myself, I was a person who bottled up my feelings. So then it really comes to, I don't like it spoke about me in a different light. So then I didn't like it when people spoke about them in a different light. And I really didn't know how to express feelings in that sort of way. So the journey that we've been on in the last 3 years has been, incredible for me, because it's really opened and shone a whole new light on the whole situation. It's like, the worst situation that can really happen to you can be your biggest fucking superpower, as long as you face it, as long as you don't fucking turn away from it. And at the end of the day, like, this journey has really kind of been my biggest self-reflection. I've seen so much change in the both of you guys, but I feel like I've seen so much change in myself. It's been ridiculous. And Jimmy said just before, it's fucking endless, right? Like, we're doing it every day to day, and we've done so much already, but it's just an endless fucking pit. And you just got to enjoy the fucking ride about it. You learn so much about yourself. I think that power of self-reflection, and then now I can talk to myself in the mirror now. I can say the bad things, I can say the good things, and I can take it from other people at the same time now, because I didn't face it back then and realize why I now can't. And then now these days, it makes me a bigger fucking person in the end. And that's how you grow. Like, you need to fucking know your strengths and weaknesses. You need to take the criticism. You need to take it on, because people are just trying to better you. They're not trying to fucking bring you down. And the people that are trying to bring you down, their words mean nothing anyway. Water off a duck's back. So yeah, it was a good fucking question for me. So I really enjoyed it when you asked it. And I was like, fuck, that one sort of hit deep. So
I'm glad it forced a bit of self-reflection. I like that. Anton, your journey, I've got this delusion. I don't know any other word to, I don't know. And the only other word that I could I could put to it is like a premonition or something like that. That's far too woo, even for my liking.
As you
But
sort
I've
of
got
cutting out.
yeah, my internet's playing up.
All good.
I've got this delusion that you're just going to be streaks and bounds, and it's not a competition, but you're going to be streaks and bounds ahead of us in terms of progress across the next 10, 20 years. And we're already seeing it with you taking charge of the content and obviously taking charge of the group. I don't know it's only a minimal, and I know it's only one live per week, but like 3 years ago when it was kicked off, you're not doing that.
Yeah.
And like now you're just taking charge and you're like, okay, this is what I want to do, this is what I enjoy. Q&As, and that's just one aspect of it. I think like Jimmy and I have spoken about it. You're a dog with a bone. As soon as you get the smell of something, you just fucking off, type thing. Like seriously, and it's proven. You've proven it time and time again, not just in this realm, but across other aspects of your life.
Appreciate it.
100%.
That reframe as well that you dropped is powerful. Reframing setbacks. And that's definitely something that I'd love to be able to deliver to people who go through the 100 days. To have something so bad as losing your best friend happen to you and turn that into, you don't live forever. It's powerful because losing the person closest to you could literally be the end of your life in a way.
Yep.
You might live for another 70 odd years, but you're not living. You're just breathing type thing. So that's a big one too.
Absolutely. I love it. Let's wrap it up, lads.
Let's wrap it up. Anything else for me, lads, before we wrap them up?
No. How are you feeling about the journey, actually?
Yeah, I'm actually nervous. I won't go into too much detail. We'll chat a bit more about it tomorrow, and I'll probably reflect on it in next week's podcast because I think we're going to have a lot to talk about after 1 week's worth of asking ourselves some questions. But like that's why I brought up like what scares you most. It's again that you don't know what you're going to find sometimes.
Yeah.
To this day, I'll be reading a piece of psychology or something like that because that's just something that I'm into, and someone will pose the thoughts of an experiment or something like that, and I like to put myself in the shoes of being in that experiment, and you're not sure how you're going to react. And that's sort of what scares me most. It's a bit of nervousness, but also reframe that to excitement because you get to discover something. You get to learn more about yourself even after, 3, 4, 5 years of personal development.
Discomfort's just growth, man. So
yeah.
And in the end, no matter what you find, it's good or bad. Even if it is bad, now you know that you can fucking fix it. You know it's aware. You're aware that it's there. All right, what can I do now that I need to change so it doesn't fucking happen again? So that's the power. So how we're going to look at it. So
yeah,
exactly
100%.
right. All right, lads, that's a wrap on another episode. Yeah, definitely powerful. That's a wrap on a very powerful episode of the Strong Capable Men podcast. I'm reading from the screen. Remember, greatness isn't handed to you, it's earned through hard work, dedication, and the right mindset. If you found value in today's episode, show us some love by hitting the subscribe button, leave a review, and leave a comment. Your support helps us reach many men who are ready to level up themselves. Lads, as always, a pleasure. See you next week.
Be good.